Here's our facility, Conservation Fisheries. We've been here for, since 2002. And I just wanted to give you a bird's eye view. Actually, not a bird's eye, but I'm just across the street, a little higher than the facility. It's in ratty shape as far as the paint goes, and it needs a lot of work, but it's our little home. There on the left is a backup generator that was generously donated by TVA. Runs on propane and has automatic switching systems in case we have a power failure. And now I will take you down to street level and we'll go on in and check out what's going on. And as we come in here, we have our tiny little office space. Bit of an office in there. Back here, down this little tiny corridor, is where Pat and I have our offices. Not a whole lot of room, but hey, we don't need a whole lot of room. We come around to our whiteboard where we try and keep notes for everyone, and our little kitchen and food prep area, which is not very large. And I'll start everyone where I usually start everyone when we tour the place, in what we call the green room. And the green room is just the name of the room where we prep and grow a lot of the food that we feed the fish, particularly the larval fish. We have a couple of different water filtration systems there, water storage tank up there. We hatch brine shrimp, Artemia in here, and then all of these small containers here have various Cereodaphnia, Daphnia, rotifers on the bottom. When we first started doing work as Conservation Fisheries, actually that wasn't even our name at the point. It was kind of an extension of work that my wife Peggy had done with yellowfin mad toms, and a colleague of ours, Jerry Dinkins, had done with smoky mad toms. Fish and Wildlife Service asked us if we couldn't propagate these fish. We've been working with the yellowfin and smoky mad tom to restore them to Abrams Creek and to the Tellico River now for 30 years. When we have nests, we hatch them in these little plastic shoebox trays. These guys are getting old enough now to start thinking about moving into the tanks. These are little yellowfin mad toms. We try not to crowd them in these trays, as they really don't do very well when they're crowded. The other system here, we've got smoky mad toms. We don't only propagate rare fish. Some of the fish that we work with, for instance here, these blotched chubs, Aramistax insignis, we're using them to propagate for mussel hosts, for rare mussel. We got them late in the year this year, so we only got a little bit of production out of them. Some of the babies are swimming around in here right now. We propagated these and the streamline chubs back, 20 years ago, in hopes of being able to obtain some of the slender chubs, and we were using these guys as surrogates to learn how to spawn and rear Aramistax. And we were successful with both, but we were never able to find slender chubs, and unfortunately they may well be gone. We hope not. In this system back here, we were propagating boulder darters. We've pretty much taken down all of their spawning habitat and the rearing tubs that we were using, because they've been done now for maybe a month or so. We propagate these out of the Elk River, which is the only known location for them right now, in hopes of getting them reestablished into Shoal Creek in south central Tennessee and North Alabama. Water changes and maintenance are a big part of what goes on around here all the time, and we're fortunate to have some people that are very good at doing that, and we appreciate them. Some of the little boulder darters are in these tanks up here. These guys will go out this fall. Once they get big enough to tag, we'll be putting them out into Shoal Creek. And we had a pretty good year with them this year. We have quite a few little boulder darters coming along. We've broken down our spawning systems for the spot fin chubs now. We're pretty much done spawning them. I think I have some clips I could throw in to show you what some of the adults would look like when they're spawning, but right now I got nothing to show you in the tank. When they do spawn, and this is the last of the slates that were brought in from the adults, the eggs are laid in this stack of slates that you can see sort of down in there, and slates like this, unglazed ceramic tiles. And then we take the tiles out, and the eggs are stuck to the tiles, and we're able to bring those into these trays and hatch them. Once they hatch, we remove the slates, and you can see some of the little ones scooting around in here. These are fairly small nests because they were some of the last ones that the fish produced. But once they get a little size on them, we then move them into these 20-gallon tanks. These guys are destined for Tellico River, where they're doing pretty well in the habitat that they have there, and also into the Chiowa River, where they're doing exceptionally well in the Chiowa. We've been working with Carolina Mad Toms for several years now in an effort to more or less perfect captive propagation of them. Right now, all of the specimens that we have that are under propagation come from the Tar River drainage in North Carolina. The noose population is just about winked out, evidently. But these have done real well for us. Here's some of the, most of them are hiding right now. I can try and show you some that aren't, or I can lift this up. This year, after getting our technique down, we've produced probably 250 of these little guys. I'll try and show you some adults here. I don't expect to find a nest because they seem to have stopped spawning now. It's almost August, and their spawning time is pretty much over. But what we look for under these flower pot basis is one that's filled in like that. They tend to seal themselves in a lot of times if they do have a nest. But I'm going to lift it so you can at least maybe see some adults. No nest, but 2 fat, happy adults in here. They're really, really beautiful mad toms. One of my favorites. We've also been working with Okaloosa darters from Florida in the Panhandle, most of which come from the vicinity of Eglin Air Force Base. You can see maybe some of the babies in these trays. We have 2 populations that we're working with right now. These guys lay their eggs in these mops. We go through, pick out the eggs, put them in little petri dishes for hatching, like this. You can see a few eggs here and there, if you can get around this glare that we've got. They don't produce very many eggs at a time. This is a fish that's not very prolific and tends to take us a long time to produce good numbers. From our water source, we can pump water, and it's a nightmarish mess of plumbing, but we can pump water into these systems if we need to top up or fill a sump just by turning on a valve, which is kind of nice, but we still have to bring water out of the systems using siphons and roll around trash cans, which is a kind of a pain. But we've been working to propagate ashy darters for a number of years now. This actually turned out to be one of the more difficult species that we work with. But we have been propagating them, and they do spawn for us, and we are able to raise some. Here are a few of this year's crop. They're such cute little fish. There's another one of the adults under there. And there are more babies in the tanks down here. These little guys are Tennessee dace. We got them too late to spawn this year, but these will be held over as a breeding group for next season. And it's for some reintroduction work that the Forest Service in Cherokee National Forest wants to do. And here we have some Roanoke log perch. They're real flighty. It's hard to get a good look at them sometimes. We'll be propagating these guys next season. We have done them in the past, and we're pretty successful with them at that time. So we're hoping to extend that success to this group next year. A couple of final systems I want to show you, and you notice that these are all sweating and obviously colder than the ambient temperature. These are our little pygmy sculpins. I'll see if I can wiping that off usually doesn't bother them very much. They're such cute little fish. We've had a lot of success in propagating those guys this year. And here's another one of our Barron's top minnow bats. You can see some of the adults in there. And one final place I want to take you in here is what we call our spring room. We try and even out the temperature in here in the summer and winter time to keep it more or less constant. By doing so, we avoid temperature extremes of either cold or hot in the summertime, cold in the wintertime. And this is a system where we have been propagating little spring pygmy sunfish. Sorry, a lot of these tanks are really dirty on the glass. If you have any questions, I'm going to be around and we'll try to answer them for you. Otherwise, thanks for taking the time to watch.